Hi, my name is Sandy Scofield. I'm a singer-songwriter, composer, sound designer, and educator. I studied jazz guitar for a number of years. I also played some bass, and I studied keyboards for quite a while. But I'm able to write for any orchestral instrument, because I've written a lot of chamber pieces as well for chamber orchestra. I mostly work as a performer, however I do these other things as well. I come from a musical family, so one of my earliest memories were all my relatives getting out their instruments and sitting at the piano and just playing music, and them sitting me down to a little keyboard and saying, okay, play. And so, they'd all be like playing like a son of a gun, and I'd just be like, but that's one of my first memories, and I was very small. I played a lot of coffee houses and just the odd little thing here and there, but really I count Expo 86 as my jumping off point for playing professionally. For the entire 6 months, I had 3 weeks of work every month for the 6 months. So I marked that as my the time that I jumped off to support myself doing music, and I've been supporting myself doing music ever since. And sometimes that's been slim pickings and a lot of poverty. Well, probably I'm a little bit older than a couple of the other mentors. And I just wanted to say that in my time when I first started playing, if you were female, you were a singer or a piano player. That was pretty well it. So one of the challenges, and it's still a challenge, is that it's fundamentally a man's industry. So we're starting to see more and more women take on technical positions, and like producer and sound engineer and things like that. But I studied audio production for 4 years. I have a degree in music, so I studied audio production within my studies in my degree. And getting my name out there as a producer, well, people go, oh yeah, Sandy, she's a singer, which kind of implies I don't really know much about music theory or anything like that. So that's been very frustrating, is getting it into people's heads that, you tell me what you want and I will compose it for you, as in notate all the parts. So one thing I've noticed out there in the world is that people like to throw around songwriter and composer and interchange them, when in fact they're two separate hats. They're two separate functions and skill bases and stuff, so they're not the same thing. But I notice a lot of people like to say, I'm a composer, when really they're a songwriter. But whatever, that's all right. Well, I've been performing for such a long time, and now I just take pictures of my gigs, because I've just had a diet of thousands and thousands and thousands of them over the years that I don't recall most of them. So probably, at one point I wanted to perform overseas, and that took about 5 years to manifest, but then I have had the opportunity to go to several places around the world and perform. And so that certainly has been a high point. Another high point was being asked to do the Aboriginal welcoming song for the 2010 Winter Olympics when they happened in Vancouver for the opening ceremonies. That was definitely a high point. The opera on the murdered and missing Indigenous women, they hired me to do the sound design. That was another very high point. I've come to realize that it's the journey, it's not the destination. When I was first starting out, it always was the destination. Like, when I achieve this, or when I reach this point, I will have succeeded, or whatever. When I came to realize that there's always new goals to reach on the horizon. So it's a constant thing. It's not finite. It's not like you arrive somewhere and that's the end of it. You're constantly learning your whole life. There's always stuff to learn and to work on. When I first started out, my motivation was very different from what it is now. I do believe in the beginning I had this disconnected, immature fantasy of becoming rich and famous, or something like that, without any steps to achieve that or to get there or anything like that. So that was very unrealistic. And as I went along and those quiet times came where my phone wouldn't ring, I wouldn't be able to pay my rent, things like that, I would get very discouraged. There were a number of times I got very discouraged and I wanted to quit. But you know what? I'd always come back to picking it up again because I had a compulsion. So that's the key word for me, is a compulsion. I had a compulsion to create something. So my motivation no longer became people's response or achieving something. Yeah, it just became the journey, you know. It just became a thing of, I need to create. It isn't about becoming rich and famous. It's about this urge I have to take this agitation inside myself and manifest it into something tangible, a song. So my advice is just keep doing your work, and you really have to find some worth in it internally, because if you're dependent on people's responses, you're going to have people that aren't going to like your work. It's inevitable. We can't have everybody like us in the world, nor do they all like our work. So there's going to be people that don't agree with what we're doing. You have to just keep going. Just keep, you know, tomorrow's another day. If you're having a rotten day, just put it down and write the day off, you know. Tomorrow's another day. You can always pick it up and resume. So best of luck to everyone, and yeah.